I work in a workforce development office, and I had a client come in the other day asking for prep for an interview that she had later that afternoon. This is a common request, so I was happy to do it. So we sat down and we start going through the usual, right? Have you looked at the company website? Do you understand the role that you're going to be fulfilling and how it fits into their overall structure? Have you prepared your questions you think you're going to be asked, along with the stories that you'll use to answer them? She was good on all points. So then I was like, okay, so what does she need help with? Well, she started telling me that, yeah, I prep for these interviews, but then I get in there and I'm like, I start freezing and I ramble and I get really, really nervous. And so we started talking about that. And in the conversation, what I learned was that she was believing a lot of myths. And these are a lot of myths that people who aren't in workforce development tell others in a way to try to help. Unfortunately, believing all these myths, all it does is make you nervous. It makes it harder for your best self to come through in the interview. Today, we're going to talk about those myths. We're going to talk about what the truth is. And in doing so, we're going to clear the way for you feeling really good about how you did on your next interview. The first myth is that hiring managers are a monolith. We've all gotten that advice that says hiring managers prefer resumes to be 1 to 2 pages, or hiring managers prefer that you have read the company website and understand what you'll be getting into before the interview starts. The problem is, most hiring is not done by a hiring manager, rather, just a manager. I know this because I was a manager for 4 years, and hiring folks was part of my job occasionally, right? Like in 4 years, I hired maybe 10 people. So every once in a while, I had to get my head right toward the role that I was trying to fill and the type of person that I thought could fill the role. And then I went to the task of bringing someone on. I say all this to say that my view of how that should be done is going to be totally different than someone else's view. Most managers are not properly trained on best practices on hiring people. Most managers are given the task of increasing headcount, and they do the best they can. So, for that reason, hiring managers as a monolith is a myth. The next myth I want to talk about is the one that says hiring managers have all the power. Only if you haven't prepared. If you've prepared, then for every question you get about how you see your skill sets filling the role, or what it is about the company that has you excited to come work for them, there should be questions coming back from you about how the role fits into their hierarchy or what their company policies are for promoting from within. And so when people tell you that you should have questions for them, it shouldn't be perfunctory, right? It shouldn't be because you need to have questions. It should be so that you are creating a balanced power dynamic. It is just as important that the company is as good a fit for you as you are for them. These next two I want to talk about together because I feel like they're opposite sides of the same coin. And they are that the perfect interview will guarantee you the job, or a flawed interview will cost you the job. I'll tell you two quick stories to illustrate my point. The first was this lady who came in. She was late, she was disheveled, a little scattered, and obviously nervous, right? But the answers she gave were thoughtful, right? And she told stories about putting herself in work situations that most people would have cowered from. But she was like, I'm up for a challenge. Even though the delivery mechanism was not ideal, what she said was what I needed to hear. Conversely, I had a guy come in who was on time, dressed to the nines, and answered all of his questions perfectly. However, they were kind of too perfect, right? They were like canned answers, which had all their I's dotted and T's crossed, but they didn't tell me anything about the person I was hiring. So in this situation, there's probably the lady who goes, oh, I flubbed the interview, and then I give her an offer letter. And the guy probably thought he nailed it, but we gave him the thank you so much, good luck on your job search letter. What can you do? Well, that leads to the last myth, which is that you can perfectly predict the best strategy to land the job. There are so many variables that go into the hiring process that trying to prep your interview so that you can be direct but not too direct. Spotlight things that you know about the job, but things that you don't know about the job, and so on, is a fool's errand. Focus on putting your best foot forward, being the best version of you that you can muster. And when you evaluate how you're doing in interviews, evaluate it with that scorecard. How did I do representing myself compared to how I've done it in the past interviews? Not whether or not you got a call back. If dispelling these myths makes you just a little bit less nervous in your next interview, then I consider creating this video time well spent. If you considered watching this video time well spent, I'd appreciate a like. That helps my content reach others. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I appreciate how valuable those things are, and we will talk again soon.